Yesterday, it was announced that Cassian Andor, Alliance intelligence officer, one of the heroes that made the Death Star go boom boom, is getting his own live-action series. Quote, the series, which will go into production next year, follows the adventures of rebel spy Cassian Andor during the formative years of the Rebellion and prior to the events of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Diego Luna will reprise the role of Andor, close quote. As Cassian said in Rogue One, he's been in the fight since he was 6 years old. Obviously, they can't de-age Luna that much, so I'm not sure when in the timeline the show will exactly take place. If I had to guess, not that much before the events of Rogue One. I don't want to just wildly speculate here, that's not my thing, but I can see how that's very, very easy to do. Quote, the rousing spy thriller will explore tales filled with espionage and daring missions to restore hope to the galaxy in the grip of a ruthless empire. This is the part that intrigues me the most. Most of you guys know that Rogue One is one of my least favorite Star Wars movies. In fact, it's right before Attack of the Clones on my list, which is actually my last on the list. My biggest hope for Rogue One was that it was going to be a spy thriller, espionage, double-crossing, secret agents. The story of stealing the Death Star plan seemed perfect for that kind of flick. So to have a live-action series take up the mantle and maybe give us something like that is great in my opinion. The description on the Star Wars website calls it a spy thriller filled with espionage, which is the reason I am excited. You know what I would love? And I'm sure this is not going to be the case at all, so don't take it to heart, but I would love the show to be like a procedural show. Like, instead of a plot and story stretching one entire season, every episode would have its own self-contained story arc with the occasional two-parter. That's relatively rare nowadays. I mean, Star Trek used to do that thing. A lot of shows used to do that. You really only find that kind of story structure in network TV cop dramas nowadays, it seems, but it was common in the past. Obviously, I don't think that they will do that, but it would be kind of neat to treat every episode as its own little spy thriller with a different mission, different consequences, big and small, connecting everything in the end. It's just a thought, but I think that format would work pretty well in a spy show where we really already know the outcome of everything. What I like about the show is the potential with the character of Cassian Andor. He's a pretty solid choice to spearhead a live-action show. He's relatively familiar, but not too familiar. He's been in the fight for a long time, pretty much all of his life. It could be really interesting following a character like that, someone who isn't new to the struggle, but rather has been kicked and beaten by the conflict for years, even decades. That being said, I'm not overly excited. I'm not jumping for joy for the show. As much as I love the original trilogy era, it is my Star Wars. The OT is my Star Wars. It's what I think of when I think of Star Wars, and I doubt that will ever change. But as much as I love the OT era, I honestly wish the second announced live-action Star Wars series was set in the prequel era. That might surprise some of you, but I do. Star Wars, at least conceptually, has a big, broad galaxy to dive into, full of endless potential, endless stories, endless time frames to explore. That's not to say that we won't eventually get a live-action series set during the prequel era or even before that. You never know. But their focus, without a doubt, is on new tales that bridge and expound upon events that led into the original trilogy and events that take place after the original trilogy, which really does make a lot of sense. That's kind of where the unknown territory lies. That's kind of where there's a lot of room to play around in the sandbox. The time frame between the OT films and the time frame after the OT films are kind of a blank slate in a lot of ways. That's where creators can really flesh out new concepts and new ideas. It makes complete sense to me. And since the Clone Wars animated series is canon, I can see how there could be some hesitation to jump into that era, because a lot of stories have already been told that fill in the gaps and give further explanation to the prequel films. It would probably just be harder to figure out what the hell to do, maybe, at least in my head, unless they just made a prequel live-action series that was only related to the prequel films and the Clone Wars peripherally, and focused more on characters we've never even heard of and scenarios and situations we've never even seen. To me, that would be neat. Anyway, I'm rambling, my coffee's cold. You guys know me, I usually don't get super excited for things until they're close to being released, or until we have some footage and whatnot to see. So right now, I'm just hopeful that the show will be fun, not too serious, and not too goofy. I know that's a tall order. I know. HelloGreedo, out.